We're only a few weeks away from the playoffs, and already in this week, there were 3 records broken. Kind of. This is Sports Hour. About the only thing I can say for this week is that there were some eliminations from the playoffs. First off, the first team eliminated from the playoffs was the Falcons. The Falcons lost pretty bad in a pretty bad outcome for us. They are eliminated for the playoffs. While they did come back somewhat in the game, they just couldn't handle it. So for the first team, they are the first team eliminated from the playoffs. And they cannot make the playoffs, period, at this point. It doesn't matter what happens. And quite a few teams are on the block from the NBL. Tigers, Dogs, Giants, Indians, and Cardinals are all on the block. It will come down to if they win this week, they can probably still stay in the playoff running. If they lose, there's a good chance they're out. Now, Tigers, Dogs, and Giants do have a little bit of a leg up. They could possibly still be in the playoffs, but it would be very, very lucky for them if they do. On the other side, another team was eliminated. The Chargers were eliminated this week after they took their loss here. They played against the Otters and got pretty much crushed in that game. They scored most of their points in the fourth quarter, which was unfortunately it's a little late for them to come back. So they are eliminated from the playoffs. Good thing is there are no teams that are currently eliminated or on the block due to the fact they can still make it. When we're looking at the first factor is that pretty much anyone can still make the playoffs, even if they haven't. Because if you see this, the 2-8 Colts could still technically get the 4th wildcard slot. Is that right? Yeah, if they win every game, and every team, and at least one team loses in that position, that's only because the teams that are in the top 4 players are divisional leaders. They're gonna have to win out. They can go to 8-8, but that's their best possible record at this point. If they can't make it, if they lose, they are out of the playoffs. So there are a lot of teams that are these two teams here, the Athens and the Colts. They're on the block this week. They lose, they're out. The other teams still have a little bit of chance, lighting upwards, could still technically make the playoffs. Now, the big question: there's 2 teams right now that, in theory, could make the playoffs as of this week. Leland Cats are on the edge. They could potentially clinch the division if they win this week and the Jets lose. That's all that has to happen. If that happens, they will be clinching. They will clinch the division. It's a little bit harder for the Panthers because there's a lot of things that could occur. Panthers win, they're in. They are in the playoffs. I know I don't have the ranks on offense and all for those things. I'll have that for next week, for the next week's Sports Hour episodes. Knights and Legends both would need to lose this week for the Panthers not to clinch the division. Knights and Legends would hopefully lose. And the problem is, if you look back at the NBL North, if you look at the Panthers have played the Legends only once, and they've played the Knights only once. Actually, they didn't play the Knights at all. So really, here's the thing. It comes down to the ending here. If the Knights or Legends, if the Legends don't win, they're out of the division possibility. They're not out of the playoffs, but they're out of the division possibility. And the Knights, since they haven't played the Panthers yet, could potentially still be in the playoff things as long as they don't lose this next week. Otherwise, it could come down into the end of the week. Panthers will clinch in any case if the Knights and the Legends both lose. If the Legends do win, it may still not matter because Panthers should still clinch with just 6 games left. Both these teams lose, Panthers clinch the division. I know it sounds weird, but there's 6 games left in the season. Which means the Panthers could be, if the Panthers go to 11 and the Knights both go 6 and 5, the Panthers will clinch the division. It's weird because that means there's only 5 games, but because of the next week, Panthers will have 11 wins. They'll have 6 wins, 5 losses. Panthers will have 5 ahead of them, and they'll be 5 behind, which means they're out of the playoffs. Yes. Now, officially, I believe, if I'm correct, and maybe I'm wrong with this, but the Knights still have a chance to clinch, to take the division from them if they lose. If they win both of the games. Otherwise, they're going to be eliminated from the playoffs. All right, from this last week, these are the ratings. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys because I don't have them all updated here. Panthers are number 1 in offense. Otters are number 1 in defense. They're still very high. Dead last is the Dragons or the Giants, and then the Dragons. Both of them are really low in the scale. Current highest penalties, I did not update this. Yes. The highest penalties right now is 146, 145. Not 146, that's just heck. And the fewest penalties is 18. The Panthers still are on top there. And yeah, I think it's very clear to say that a lot of the penalties that the Chargers had were the problem killer. I'm still first, not by a whole lot, but I'm still first in that. For week 11, we have some interesting games. I'm getting the predictions for each of these teams right now. Start off with Saints and the Westville. Saints having an interesting position here, playing 1 o'clock on Saturday. It's going to be a tough one for them. And both these teams have a pretty good chance of winning this game. This could go either way. If we look at the Westville stats, Westville is 25th and 20th. On the other side, the Saints are really lower than them in each of those positions. They're higher in defense, but lower in offense. In this case, it's going to be interesting. The predictions are as follows. It's pretty split. In my opinion here, this is going to be a tough one. I feel like the Westville doesn't have the actual defense they say they do. I'm going to have this over the Saints here. This could be in either way. 2 weeks last week, I went 17 and 3. Superman and the Beagles. The predictions are very one-sided. All of them going for the Superman. However, look, this is going to be an interesting game because the Superman are, very high. They're 9th in both positions, which puts my team probably puts them near first. As for the Beagles, they're 6th in offense and 29th in defense. I don't know if defense is going to be it's going to happen in this game. I mean, looking at these, this could be an either way game. And I'm not even sure who to predict for here. I'm actually going to go against everyone else here. I think the Supermen do have a very good chance of winning this game, but I'm going to go with the Beagles doing it slightly better. I think it's going to be a very close game in the end. Lightning and the Angels. Angels having a position where they are 13th and 22nd versus the Lightning, who are, I don't even want to talk about them because they're second last in offense and only 19th in offense. I don't think there's a chance the Angels are going to be able to lose it. Will lose this game, and that's exactly what happened. Everyone's picked the Angels to win that game. Hawks and the Giants. Giants absolutely got demolished in the last week's game. If you guys didn't see this one, it was 181-0, which is a record, by the way. Only 5 games in NBL history have ever ended with a team scoring 0 points. Yeah. And guess what? Panthers are in 4 of them. That includes this one. The only other game happened earlier in the season. That was with the Dragons, and I don't know who. And Dragons and Chargers game 60-0. So that wasn't very big. Panthers are absolutely demolished each of those teams. Their average, by the way, for any of those games is 142 points. Each of the games where they have won. And 2 of those games, by the way, were against the Knights. So this is not exactly the best option here. So Giants being blown out in that game does not do well for me. And I believe as it's probably still going with the Giants. But I still do not see the Hawks losing this game, especially after a complete blowout, especially when they're 7th and 18th. Versus the Giants, who are dead with their lives. I don't know why it is about something thinking this is going to happen, but it's not going to happen that way. It's going to be the Hawks all the way. I wouldn't be surprised if this is another game that's completely broken. But it is early in the morning, so maybe Puppy thinks they're going to be really good early in the morning. But we'll see. Knights and the Atham. This is actually an interesting matchup because Atham are 12th in offense and 24th in defense versus the Knights are pretty high up in the either way. This could end up being an either way game. But honestly, this is not going to be an easy game for the Atham to win. Being 2-8, well, I will say that there's the telling. Sorry. There are the one team that has made the playoffs after being down at this rate. They're the only team that's ever had 2 wins early in the season and made the playoffs. Great, it was an 8-9-1 record, but they still made the playoffs. I just don't see it being good enough for them to do it. I'm going to go with the Knights winning this game. Foxes and Tigers. Yeah. I'm sorry, Tigers. You're not going to do it. Tigers are way too low in it. And Foxes are 4th and 8th. And as the predictions say, everyone's going to pick the Foxes. And I think, honestly, everyone's picked the Foxes in the last couple weeks for their games. Foxes, everyone picked the Foxes. And this week, everyone picked the Foxes. Okay, well, Puppy picked the Ravens. But guess what? You got wrong. Let's see. Back in week 8. Well, okay, it was split even. I mean, it was a little bit split there. But, again, don't see the Tigers win this game. I'd love to see the Tigers do some good in this game, but probably not going to do it. Colts and UNC. By the way, they played. They have not. This is the second time they've played, I believe. And the first matchup, if we go back to the Colts game. It actually doesn't appear to be there. They have not. They have not played, really. Not surprising me. I thought they would have just should have played twice. I think they're the one team that doesn't play twice, and honestly, this could be an either way game for that reason. It is actually split, believe it or not. You got Lily Jog going UNC, Colts. It's going it. Puppy going UNC. I actually think this is gonna be tough. By the way, if you guys are not aware of this, UNC actually stands for United National Cats in this context. It's not, I don't know what the other thing is. This is actually an interesting game. I think UNC wins this game, but the thing is, it could be an either way game. All right, Bobcats and Falcons. I think, honestly, no one's ever going to pick the Falcons because the Falcons have been absolutely terrible. They have a really good defense, but their offense is not flying at all. It just doesn't work. Like, being 36th in the league just does not show it versus the Bobcats, who are 7th in defense, and they are not very good in offense either. So this could be an offensive battle, but I don't think they're going to do it. Warriors and the Kings. This actually could be a very interesting game. The Warriors being the 2nd in points and 25th in defense versus the Kings, who are actually 8th in defense. And there it is. So both these teams don't have a very good defensive line, but honestly, this is going to be an interesting game. It's very much split here. This is actually what I would love to see the Warriors win here, but it's going to be a tough one for this team to win. Especially since the Kings do have some injuries on their team. I don't have the names up right now, but they do have some injuries from this last game. They should be able to play by 1 o'clock on Sunday. It's like minor injuries, so it's not going to be a huge thing. But I don't know. I mean, with this stats and due to the Kings and Warriors actual stats before, I'm going to go with the Warriors here, but I don't like it so much. All right, moving on to the Pirates and the Stars. This is going to be a tough one. It's so tough that it's all split all over the place. I mean, John's picked the Pirates here. Honestly, this could be either way. And honestly, this was a team that was not predicted to do very well. The Stars were predicted to, if I'm correct, check here. Yeah, the Stars originally were predicted to go 3-13. They have absolutely blown that away. 3-13. They're 9-1 at this point. They're playing a tough team, and looking at the Pirates are second and the 15th and second. The Stars are third in defense. So both these teams have really good defenses and very good and decent offenses. This is going to be an absolute tough matchup. And I believe, is this not the game of the week? I don't know how it's not the game of the week, because this is actually going to be a ridiculous game. It should have been the game of the week. I just see no reason why it shouldn't be the game of the week, but it is not the game of the week. I'm going to pick the Stars here. I think they're going to have a better chance of winning this game. Chargers and Browns, I think we all know what's going to happen, and everyone went for the Chargers. What happened? Apparently, everyone doesn't think the Browns are going to do very well, even though the Chargers have not done well at all. Let me just say, Chargers, most in penalties, which I didn't do, they're 17th and 27th. I will say they have a kind of a decent team. As for the Browns, yeah, they're actually pretty bad. But I don't see them losing to the Chargers, especially with all penalties. Browns are the fifth least penalized team at this point, with a grand total of 32 penalties this season. I think most penalized team is gonna win the most penalized battle. I just don't see it. Ravens and the Bears. This is the game of the week. Okay, the Ravens and the Bears is the game of the week. Okay, I mean it's reasonable. That's definitely not the right color. There we go. That is the game of the week. 1 o'clock on Sunday. Yeesh, this is actually going to be a tough one because Ravens and Bears are actually in a very good position. I believe Ravens and Bears are in the same division, if I'm correct. Okay, Ravens and Bears are not in the same division. Ravens are predicted to go 8-8 at the beginning of the season. Bears, as we move on, we're supposed to go 10-6. So this is actually a pretty interesting matchup. And honestly, I've been a little disappointed with the Ravens recently, but I've been disappointed with the Bears as well. Both these teams have not really showed up to par at this point. It's been split even. I don't even know what to go with here because Ravens have a better record. And let's just take a look here. Ravens are currently... Ravens are actually on pretty average, both pretty bad. As for the Bears, they are pretty bad as well. So both these teams are pretty bad, I guess. I have to say, I think this is going to be a split, even game. I'm going to go with the Ravens winning this game, but this could end up being the toughest, and I will say the toughest match we have seen. Ours and Packers. 3 o'clock on Saturday. As for the Otters won their game, and they had the number 1 defense and the 26th offense. As for the Packers, they've been a little disappointing, but they are 21st and 23rd, so they're at a pretty average team. I have to go here, and it's actually really split even here. Over here. This is a tough one. I can see either one of these teams winning this game. I'm going to go with the Otters here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Tough one, I say, though. Cardinals and Panthers. I'm very confident to say the Cardinals will be eliminated from the playoffs this week. Because there is no way, after showing a 181 points to 0 game, there's no way the Cardinals win this game, not lose them. Panthers all the way for that one. Bulldogs and yes, this one was split. I'm not right there. It was split pretty even. It's gonna be a tough one. Honestly, this is probably actually the best week we've had. Bulldogs, at this point, do have the 4th best defense and the 29th best offense. As for the Werewolves, yeah, they're pretty bad both positions. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs here. They did get a good win this last week. I think they'll be able to continue to rank up to the playoffs. Lynx and the Dragons, a very tough one. Lynx sadly did get a loss this last week. Wasn't a terrible loss, but they're 24th and 30th now. As for the Dragons, they got a huge win. And the Dragons are 11th, but they're dead last in defense. And that is the reason why I go to the Lynx this week. Everyone else went with the Dragons except for Puppy. Puppy and me are just like going weird things as well, I guess. Lions and the Indians. Indians got a win. Congratulations, guys. You won. That doesn't mean much because they're playing the Lions this week. And Lions are pretty terrible. As for the Indians, they're 14th in defense and 30th in offense. They're both pretty bad teams. As for the Indians, their previous prediction here, let's see, the Indians. Prior to what we predicted at the beginning of the season, they were predicted to go 2-14. So they're actually in a pretty position because only 2 games. They've only won 1 game. And I didn't do this one. But they beat the Lynx. And that was surprising to me. I do not think the Indians are going to have enough to do it in this week. But it's gonna be a very tough matchup. Both of them went for the Indians here. I just don't see it against the Lions. I'm gonna go with the Lions here. Tex and Tigers. Oh, I'm going to say like this, everyone with the Tex this game because the Tex have a much better team right now. Tex being 16th and 23rd versus the Dolphins being pretty average, like in the middle. So everyone's on for the Tex this week. At 6 o'clock on Sunday at Bank of America Stadium. Why is it happening at 6 o'clock? Why is it 6 o'clock? There should be a game going on. 7, okay. It is going to be a late game. A 7:20 game. That's a weird game time, but as we've all said before, no one thinks the Leland Cats are going to lose any more games this season. I believe there's just no chance for them to lose it. I mean, I know previously the Cats were predicted and I want to check this because they were predicted to go 6-10. Well, they haven't lost a game yet, so that's way out of their going yet. The worst they could have even at this point is 10-6. So worst case scenario, they get a reverse one, and I think the Legends are going to lose. Dogs and the Jets. Yeah, let's just show you what's going on here. I don't know who thinks the Dogs are going to win this game. Apparently, everyone except for Dog himself, who is the owner of that team, by the way. He's just like, I have no confidence in my team here. Dogs are 38th in defense and 13th in offense. As for the Jets, they're fifth in offense and 21st. So yeah, there should be no way these in all the Dogs in this game. Why on earth would anyone go for them? I mean, this is going to be a weird week. Maybe they're going to have an upset. They are playing at 1:45 on Monday, which is a weird time. But that is what works. When like you guys watch the Sports Hour, I will have all things updated for next week. And we'll see if the Panthers and the Leland Cats make the playoffs or are ensured to make the playoffs next week.